Okay, so welcome back to the play video number 2, and I'm calling this section plays or play or performances or something like that. What we do on this one, we are gonna grab like 4 different sounds, and we're gonna do a little bit of sound design in context. And this is part of a series where we learn how to use the Jun 6B from Arturia. And I'm telling you all of this because maybe you're just watching this video, you just came here and you don't know what I'm doing. So yeah, this is part of the series. We're gonna put everything we learned into practice. So check the playlist where this video is, and you're gonna find some series, just talking about the Jun 6B and just teaching you how to use it. Okay, so of course, this is the sound and all the templates. We are all this, it's just using the Jun 6B, and by default sounds like shit. Like always, of course. So that's what we want to do. We want to do something like this. So first, I'm going to go and take you to the drums. So this is what, how the drums sound. Right, and then it's the same. All right. So, okay, so pretty simple, pretty straightforward. This comes from a construction kit. So I can do this faster and not, spend the day doing something like this. And then go and play the bass. So it's that kind of bass, We're playing octaves. Back and forward, back and forward. That's the type of sound. So I'm gonna go right here, and we're gonna start building this. So we want a bass. Of course, if we want a bass, I want subs. So I'm gonna go enable the sub. And sometimes, it's always a good idea when using a sound to use a saw to get that edge. But in this case, I'm just going to go and use the squares. But first, I need to make sure I get the sub up. Then what I'm going to do, I'm going to go to right here. And I'm going to decide that the envelope is going to do a little bit of pulse width modulation. Because we are using a square, so maybe we can do a little bit of modulation. I'm not sure how this is going to work, but we can try it. So I'm going to go to the LFO just to add a tiny bit of pitch if we wanted to. And I'm going to keep it the rate right there and just keep it like that. And let's see what happens, how it sounds. It's massive, of course. And more LFO. Of course, not going to work. That's why we are doing just a tiny bit. Right, so of course, sounds very dumb. So what I want to do, I want to go right here and just do a little bit of filtering because this is a bass. So I'm going to go all the way down and I'm going to add a little bit of resonance. And now it's just going to get nothing because we need to do something on the envelope. And now it sounds like a bass. I'm going to do the keyword as well so we can get a little bit more aggressiveness. And I'm going to go and say that I want a little bit of attack, and I just mean almost nothing. I'm gonna make it shorter because I want that kind of a vibe. I don't want a super long bass. This sounds like not a bass, let's say. It needs to be short. I'm gonna do a little bit of this even though we don't need it. I kind of like it, I could go a little bit more on this one just to get a bit more body. And I'm gonna go and add a little bit of chorus. There you go, we're in the 90s. Okay, I'm gonna disable the noise, go to advanced, and what we can do something like we did right here just to provide a little bit more grit. I'm gonna go to the BCF. Let me just find it first. Whatever, BCF, this one, the cutoff. Oh. So I'm gonna go to the frequency right here. Notice it's very low, and the envelope and the keyboard are doing all the work. But I'm just gonna go, and notice it gives us the aggressive part. The higher frequencies, teeth. And I do more, it's gonna be a bit too much. I just want a little bit, just a tiny bit, and we are cool. Maybe too much. I like it there. And notice that with the chorus, we don't need to unison. If you do unison, it's just too much. Just too much, and we are doing 3 voices. So in this case, I'm just gonna, not do unison. So that's it. There we go. That's the bass. Okay, I'm gonna go a little bit down that one. And okay, now we're gonna take care of the arp. The arp is just a chord. Just a chord. We are not doing anything else. So if I do play, now, of course, this one sounds pretty dumb because we need to create kind of that arpeggio, kind of a, we need to create an arp. So for this one, we are going to make use of the arpeggio right here, which is something we didn't use much so far. So I'm going to go and I'm going to just make the arpeggio. I'm going to go and say that I want on. I'm going to use the up mode and I want to do everything on an octave. So it's going to go the first time that it, creates the loop because it's 4 chords, 4 keys, 4 notes. It's going to do the first loop and then the second loop 1 octave higher. Yep, that's it. So let's see how it sounds right from the start. We are already there. Okay, so I don't want this. I want the square, and I want a little bit of sub. Still sounds like shit. But I'm gonna do a little bit of this, and notice it sounds darker, a bit more presses. Now, of course, everything is on the frequency, so I'm gonna go down, and we're gonna do a little bit of movement with the frequencies. It's okay, so. Yeah. A little bit of keyboard just to get a little bit more. All right, I'm gonna keep the envelope right here. We're gonna use, this envelope for the BCF and this one. And I'm gonna go down on the sustain and go up on the decay. Now a little bit there, Okay. Notice it's not releasing the key, so if you want that, but it's too much. So if you do something like this, the tail is going to take a lot of space in the track. So it's going to be very hard for you to, to make other parts kind of stand out because this is kind of taking all the space we have available. Even though it sounds super nice, it's just going to do no good. Okay, I kind of like it. Maybe a little bit less envelope. And I'm gonna do a little bit of coarse. Much better. Now it sounds too near to us. It's too much too in your face. I'm gonna disable the noise. And I'm gonna go to the advanced tab. And I'm gonna do a little bit of reverb just to move it to the back. And a little bit of chorus delay right here again, just to move the thing to the back. I'm gonna leave this the way it is and this one the way it is because it's already giving me what I want. Maybe a little bit. There we go. Right, so it works. Okay, so then what I want to do, I want to give you, do some plucks, some chord plucks. Just by default, just hearing this, it sounds very good. This comes again from a construction kit. I changed some things like the ARP and the Atmo, which is a little bit. I didn't change the bass because I really liked it. But the plugs I changed some of the things. But that idea of it's just fantastic. And when you hear something, you're making a track and you put something that it's using the default sound or, a very dumb sound and it sounds good, it's because it's the right thing to do. Whenever it sounds right, it sounds right. It doesn't matter if you're using it with a, a very kind of a raw sound. It just still goes and it sounds nice. So if that's the case, you kind of need to pursue this. Now, there's one thing I didn't do that will make this much better. I'm gonna go back to the bass, and even though the bass sounds cool, I want to try something more. I'm gonna see if I get something more out of this with the dimension D. And we do. We go, it just gets bigger. Maybe not that much. Without. Maybe a little more. And okay. Now, at the end of the day, when you're done doing this, you're done doing the track, you will need to go back to whatever you're doing and just check that maybe the width that it is giving you to the bass is not too much. Maybe you're going to need to make it narrow and to cut some frequencies, of course. Of course, you need to do all of that when you build the track. On this one, we are just kind of making patches. That's what we are doing. Now, what we are missing right now is the sidechain. So I'm going to go and do a little bit of kickstart. But the song sounds, you know, so far it sounds good. But it sounds very static. No movement. So the movement is going to be the sidechain. If I go to the bass, and it's doing it. Yeah. Now the track is, since everything is super fast, yeah, everything's super fast. So if I make it longer, then we're gonna start hearing that, you know, that sidechain. This one is too subtle, but that's okay. You know, I like subtle in this case. Now I'm gonna go to the ARP, and I'm gonna do the sidechain in this one as well. Yeah, I like this. Maybe not that much. Just a little bit of sidechaining. Right, okay. Okay, so let's go with the plug right now. I'm gonna go and do a solo. And it sounds like shit. And on context. So I want to make this kind of an organ sound. In my opinion, the best way you can get an organ sound is just with a FAM. But in this case, this one can do something convincing. And I want something that sounds in the back. I don't want to create something in the, you know, right in the front, because it will just go over the ARP. And I really like the ARP, you know, I could like this. So if this one is kind of too much, it's gonna cover whatever we are doing on the ARP, which is something I don't want. Now, of course, let's go and build this. I'm gonna do a sub, I'm gonna do a little bit of sub, why not? And I'm gonna do a little bit of this, and I'm gonna make it a square. And as soon as you play it, you're gonna notice that this will make it sound, so it sounds like an organ. Of course, we need to do a lot of things right here, but it's still, you know, right from the start, it sounds like it gives you that organ vibe. Of course, if I wanted to do a piano, I'll use a piano plugin. This is just not gonna do it for you. Now I'm gonna do a little bit of delay because it sounds way clean. Now, maybe this is too much. And then we are doing 1/8, but that's fine. Now, of course, this is kind of a way in your face, and I want to do a little bit of side chaining. So see what happens. A little bit better, but still, it's just like way in the front. So I'm gonna move it back with a little bit of Valhalla. I actually have the link right here. Valhalla reverb. I'm gonna do a little bit of reverb. Now, I would use if I want to keep the brightness of the sound, I would use a little bit of compression just to chop down the peaks, or maybe a little bit of saturation. But this one is gonna move it to the back. Maybe 1 second. Now the sound, of course, is just too bright still. This one is gonna go and sit on top of everything, which is something I don't want in this one. What I wanna do, I wanna go down on this. So I'm gonna go and chop. So we have no high frequencies now. So I'm gonna do a little bit of this and bring it down bit by bit. So this is what I want. I want it in the back. Maybe it's too dark. Much better. Now I'm gonna go and make it not sustain, and a little bit of tail. Yeah, so that's what I want. I want something dark that sits at the back, and it's not just covering everything. Now the ARP is gonna join. It's kind of adjoining the ARP. It's not just covering, you know, sitting on top of the ARP. And you need to think about these things when you build sounds. Because if you ask me, I hear this plug, you know, this chord plug, and it's just way too dark. It's just, I don't like it alone. But in context, gets the job done. And this is how you need to think things when you, when you build a track or when you build patches. How are you going to use it, and where is this sound is going to sit? It's going to be at the front. It's going to be at the back. It needs to be dark. It needs to be, with a lot of reverb. So yeah, that's, you always need to think about this. So maybe we could add a little bit of resonance just a little bit, just for fun. All right, I think this is done. Okay, so I really like it. Okay, so let's go to the next one. I'm gonna go to this one, and this one is going to be kind of a sound that it's gonna sit at the bottom. And this one is gonna give us low frequency, so it gives us that movement and atmospheric kind of a sound. All right, so of course, right now it sounds like a fart. So I'm gonna go right here, and we're gonna make it better. So okay, so right from the start, we need a sidechain. So I'm gonna go and bring the sidechain right now. And I'm going to turn it off because first we need to do the designing. So I'm going to keep the saw because I like it. And I'm going to go and enable maybe this one. No, you know what? I'm going to go with this. I'm going to go with this, and I'm going to go with this. Okay. So because this needs to be low, if I do a lot of this, let me just play it. It's going to give us a lot of high, and I'm going to need to cut a lot. Now the square will give us high frequencies, of course. We can never get them, but this one is much worse. Alright, so this one is a bit less. So I'm gonna do a little bit of cutting, just a little bit of cutting. But I'm gonna do sub, because I want subs. Maybe a little bit of pulse width modulation. Alright, I'm gonna go and do a little of detuning. We know how this works. But just a tiny bit, not too much. I'm gonna go and sync it to the DAW tempo. Maybe there it's gonna be fine. All right. Okay, so that's fine for now, I guess. Okay, so I'm gonna go to the actual filter because we are not doing anything so far. And I can like this. Maybe I don't need to do something like this because it's a sustaining sound. I just need to provide a little bit of movement with an LFO if I wanted to. Something like that. But remember that the kickstart is going to give us this. So I feel like there's no need. So maybe I can go right here and provide a little bit of tail. A little bit, less or maybe more sustained. And I'm going to disable the noise. And now the chorus, what it will do, it will make everything super big. And we want, again, this one to sit in the back. Yeah. Now, why not? If we make it unison, let's see how it sounds. I kind of like it. Without... Okay, I like it a little bit more with unison. I don't know what you think. This is, of course, completely up to you at this point. You know how to use this. And if I do more, I like this detuning. Because it gets massive, it gets big. But remember, this one, it stays at the back. So I don't care, it goes super big because it's way at the back. Okay, let's see how it sounds in context. Now it's too much because we have 3 voices, so the volume is just a bit too much. First I'm going to do the kickstart, and we can hear the movement, which I want to say it's a good thing in this case. I'm going to do a little bit of reverb. It just moves it more to the back, and I'm going to lower the volume just a tiny bit. Yeah, so that's what we want. Something in the back. And we can even go further on the volume on this one. This needs to be almost not something, it needs to be something that we cannot hear in the context, on context. Okay. Okay, so I guess we are done. Of course, we need to do EQing, compression, and, creating a track. This is just an idea, and, just be practice making patches with just a single plugin. And again, like I always say, I cannot recommend to do all, one single track with a single plugin, at least not this plugin, this synth, that gives you a very particular sound. If you want, to be all the sounds to be on the same kind of a vibe, well, maybe that's what you want, because this will give you that sound, but I much prefer to mix sounds. Let's say the bass, I would do it with the mini V, the ARP, I could do it with something like this, just like the Pluck, and maybe the Atmo I would use maybe, I don't know, something, maybe not use something like that, like 2 chords or 2 notes, maybe one single note, and I would use an MS-20 because it has, that greedy sound. But again, it's just completely up to you. At the end of the day, you can do whatever you want. In my opinion, this one sounds good, and we could even make a track out of this. Now, notice that the low frequencies are just a little bit too much with this one and this one. So maybe this one again, way at the back. I feel now it's much better, much better. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed this. You learned something, and now you will learn how how to use this. Remember, this is part of a series of videos where we talk about every single little knob, every single slider. And remember to check those videos. Of course, remember to like, subscribe. And this is something new I'm doing. I never did something like this type of videos. I mean, this series, this, creating patches series, let's say. So put in the comments if you like it. Maybe if you have some ideas, something that you would like to to hear on this on the videos on this series or this style of videos, because I don't know, it's new for me. Okay, so see you on the next one. Remember to check the Patreon, and on Patreon you're gonna get all the presets, not just this 4. Of course, you're gonna get kind of a bundle. I'm gonna do 50 or 60 presets for the Jun 6B, so you could get something in return when you do Patreon on this channel. And of course, you can you help me, and I give you something back in return, not just knowledge. All right. Okay. So see you on the next one.